everybody, it's Elizabeth with the Noonan Carnegie Library, and today we are going to make a Doodle-Bot. And so this is a little drawing robot made with a small motor and a battery pack and an on-off switch and some markers. And I'll show you how our finished robot will work. So our turned on Doodle-Bot will walk around on the page and draw as he goes. And I decorated my Doodle-Bot with some yarn hair and a little face. It'll be up to you how you choose to decorate your Doodle-Bot. I'm just going to show you how to put the body together. So, to build the body of our Doodle-Bot, we're going to have a small motor, and this is a 1.5 to 3 volt DC motor that goes 23,000 RPMs. It's got a little rotator on the end here, and that's what you saw making our clothespin go round and round. And then we're going to have a battery pack and the wiring to wire the battery pack to our motor, and we're going to wire it through a small on-off switch with the 2 prongs. And our switch also has a little screw-on threaded piece that'll help it stay into place once we put it in place. Now, most of these things can be picked up easily at hobby stores or electronics stores or on websites pretty cheaply. They're not very expensive. We also have some electrical tape, some hot glue. We have our clothespin, and that helps us to make our Doodle-Bot a little bit off balance because you want him to wobble a little. So we're going to purposely make him off balance. Also have a craft knife and a couple of small jewelry pliers to help us put everything together, and a solo cup for our body. So, first thing we want to do is get our elements in place, and then we're going to attach our wiring. First element that I'm going to put into place is going to be our switch. And so I need to make a little hole in the body of the solo cup that's big enough for our switch to go through. So I'm going to use the external part of the threaded piece as a guide to make a hole that should fit. Our threaded piece, and I'm going to use my craft knife to cut that out. So I made a little round circle, you can see. And the good thing about permanent marker is if you want to take those marks off after you've put everything together and you get ready to decorate the body, a little rubbing alcohol will take that permanent marker off the body of the cup. All right, so we cut our little circle out. And then we're going to thread this guy through. There we go. And so you can see he is all the way through. And we'll screw on the threaded piece to hold him into place. firmly seated there. And our two prongs lined up and available so that we can get our wires attached. And if you want to look inside our completed Doodle-Bot, you can see our switch is right here, and our battery pack is right here, and our motor is right here. So the battery pack and the motor are on the same side, and that puts that weight all on that same side, and that helps with that, keeping it off balance. And we want the switch, we want the battery pack to be, so our switch, it kind of protrudes into the cup, and we want our battery pack to be over here on this side so that the switch doesn't interfere with getting the batteries in and out of the battery pack. So the way we're going to attach our switch, I'm going to attach it right here. And the way I'm going to attach it is by using some hot glue. And I'm just going to put hot glue on the back of the battery pack and place it right there on the inner ridge of the cup to hold it in place. And I want these wires facing up towards what is the bottom of the cup, but what will be the top of our Doodle-Bot. So Doodle-Bot's head. Now, to get the switch to work, we're going to have the red wire from the battery pack run to one of the prongs of our switch. And then we're going to run the other piece of red wire from the other prong of the switch and then to the back of the motor. The black wire is going to run straight from the battery pack to the motor. And so the interruption between the two red wires, between the switch and the motor, is what's going to turn it on and off. So one of the red wires goes from the battery pack to the switch. The other red wire goes from the other side of the switch to the motor, and that gives us an ability to interrupt the circuit so that we can turn our Doodle-Bot on and off without having to take the batteries in and out. All right. Now our battery pack is on this side, so our Doodle-Bot is going to go, our motor is going to go right there, and we have a little raised ridge at the bottom that the other end of our rotating pin comes out of, and we don't want that to be interfered with either. So we're going to make a hole for that to seat in, and our pin cap goes over that neatly. So we're going to make a hole about that size, right where we want that to go on the cup top. Just drawing a little hole, and I'm going to cut that out carefully with my craft knife. So we made our hole that can seat in. And that's where our motor is going to rest. And then we need to make another hole, just a small one, behind that hole. And that's where our red and black wires are going to come through to attach the motor to our power source. So we're going to make that with our craft knife. I'm just going to space it a little ways behind the big hole and just make it big enough for two of those wires to run through. So, just a little hole right there, big enough for the two little wires to run through. All right. Now, so I can go ahead and put the black wire up through that because it doesn't need to attach to anything inside the body of the Doodle-Bot. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and attach my wires to the motor. That way I can show you how we're going to attach it also to the switch on the inside. So we've got some of the wire exposed at the ends. And I'm going to take that wire, and we've got our little leads on our motor. And run that through the hole and wrap it around so that it connects well. And then to insulate that and to bind it, I'm going to use a little hot glue to cover that up. You could also use electrical tape if you want to. But I found that hot glue works perfectly well. Holds the wire in place and insulates the connection. So once you've got your wire on, I'm just going to put a nice dot of hot glue on there. To hold everything in place the way we want it to go. Perfect. And then we're going to connect the black wire to the other side the same way. Go. And do us a nice dot of hot glue to hold that in place as well. All right. And then we're going to run that red wire back through that little hole that we have the black wire coming up through. And what we're going to do is put a little hot glue around the base of our motor. Whoop, come back here, you. So that it'll stick down, and make sure again that you don't interfere with that pin at the bottom so that it will rotate freely. So just go around that edge on the outside. And we're going to stick that down onto our spot here so that it will stay in place. Go. Now the only thing you'll have left to connect is the two red leads, one to each of the prongs on your switch. And we're going to do that the same way we connected it to the motor. Just run it through the lead twist it around just a little bit. So we're going to let that dry for a minute. Marker's loose, so I can take the batteries out of this one and make sure this one's running. Components are together and dry. Perfect. All right. The next step is to make our Doodle-Bot walk. And so we're going to take a little bit of electrical tape. So we're going to take a little bit of electrical tape and wrap it around the prong at the top that rotates. And that's just to give it a little added thickness so that the our clothespin will stay in place. And that's what kind of puts him off balance and makes him able to walk. And like I said, for decoration, you can add a little bit of yarn hair. Don't add too much because you don't want to make your clothespin too heavy for the motor. And you can add a face or whatever else you want to add to your Doodle-Bot. And then you'll just tape your markers inside like you are doing 3 legs for a stool. Try to make them even in length, and they'll walk all over the page and draw just like the example at the very beginning of the video. All right, guys, so thank you for joining me for this. Like I said, we just used a DC 1.5 to 3 volt, 23,000 RPM motor, a little on-off switch, a small battery pack that holds 2 AA batteries, a little bit of hot glue, our little pliers to put everything together, a craft knife to cut holes in our cup to put everything where we wanted it to be, and a clothespin to give us a little off-balance wobble to our robot. And that is our Doodle-Bot body. And then you just add the decorations and the markers to make him draw. So thank you for joining me for how to put together this Doodle-Bot. I hope you guys enjoy doing this at home. And please do find our website at noonandcarnegie.com. Check out our YouTube channel, our Instagram, and our Facebook page. And I hope to see everyone again soon. Bye-bye.